As we all know, quarterback is not only the most difficult position to play, it's also the hardest position to project. Arizona State transfer Joey Yellen won't have to sit out this season and can compete immediately for the top backup spot and beyond. Does he have what it takes to beat out two other hungry young Panthers and be the next star of the Coastal Division in the ACC? All I know is you'll never see it coming. We discuss that and more on this week's Hail to Pitt podcast.
What was your message about finishing it in these final 30 minutes?
Well, it happened in West Virginia where we knocked off number 2. It happened in South Carolina, and it's happening in Pittsburgh today.
Our guys had a lot of guts tonight.
We're just going to keep getting better. I mean, that's what it is.
One hell of a game that you will never, ever forget. We shocked the world!
Hail to Pitt.
Hail to Pitt. This is the week of August 22nd, 2020, and this is the Hail to Pitt podcast. I'm Alan Tazinski.
And I'm Vince.
And we're into the second week of training camp. Had a bit of a scare, but the season is still happening for now. And the semester is still happening for now. But distance learning, Pitt had all the students come back to campus this week, Vince, and then decided to extend online-only instruction through the middle of September due to the pandemic, due to COVID-19, the demon virus, and coincidentally made the move shortly after Carnegie Mellon, really following their lead on that kind of issue. So with the campus, that always trickles down, to the players and the football team. You had fraternities and sororities getting suspended this week on campus. Not a pretty sight, yet the ACC moves forward.
Yep, and we've seen similar situations in the ACC and all over the country, North Carolina, Notre Dame. But as you said, Alan, right now, this season is still going on. Players are still practicing for the upcoming season, and it's just wild times right now. It is.
It's uncertain times, and it is a time where it's unprecedented. We didn't see it coming, but here it is, and we've still got a season to talk about and training camp notes to get into, so we're going to have a lot of fun today. At H2P Show is where we're at on Twitter. You can follow us, hit us up if you have any questions you want us to approach on the show. If you have anything you want to say to us in terms of comments about the show or the team, feel free. That's where we do it most. But, of course, we're also on Panther Lair. We appreciate you interacting with us there. Follow, like, subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Google, everywhere. You know the places you get podcasts. H2P Show, the Hail to Pitt podcast. We're everywhere. And, of course, if you like that email, hail the number 2, pittpodcast@gmail.com. And we are brought to you by Pretty Easy Podcasts. Go to prettyeasypodcast.com today to get your own podcast started with a whole lot of help for very little money. All right, training camp notes, Vince. We've got COVID stuff to talk about. Thursday, canceled practice a week ago because there were symptoms in the house. We want, this day and age, everybody wants something in this house. They want something in this house, but never those symptoms. And that's what we had last week.
Yeah, but, some symptoms. I guess some players weren't feeling well, but, thankfully, nobody tested positive for COVID-19 from that day, at least that we know of. And practice was able to resume the next day. Coach talked about how to, switch his practice schedule around because of a day that was missed there. But, he kind of reported no positive tests since June. And they're continuing on their training camp practice schedule.
And also, we didn't get any opt-outs this week. We had that scare, but no opt-outs, no positive tests, and players can opt out, leave anytime they want. And now we are hearing that Heather Lyke and Pat Narduzzi, among other people in college football, even people over at WVU, are really gunning to kind of – it's basically a relief idea they have for players that are going to be affected by COVID-19 and not even being infected themselves, just the wild and uncertain, crazy life that everyone's leading. they're trying to make it so everybody playing fall sports, Vince, is going to be eligible, even if they play next year. So that's something we'll dive deeper into when Pam gets back on the show, because I know she has a lot to say on the topic, but just know that that's out there.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought, and you think about it, it's only fair, I think, just a little bit to discuss on it, because you got these kids, and they're choosing to opt out for medical reasons and stuff. They shouldn't be penalized for that.
Absolutely not. I think everybody, even if they play, should be allowed to play next year. This is crazy.
Absolutely.
They're not getting to play a real ACC, real college football schedule. You're not getting to play real any sport schedule right now. You're being denied what you paid for and or what you worked so hard to get a scholarship for. So that makes sense to me, but we'll dive into it some more on the next program when we're all together. The other big news, you said it at the top, Vince. Yellen, we're yelling for Yellen, eligible to play immediately. Yeah.
This seems to be somehow very common practice in college football these days, and that there's hardly anybody who needs to sit out a year whenever they transfer. It seems to always be something. Some of them legitimate things, but sometimes I just don't. I don't understand. I'm not quite sure what the circumstances for this are, but Joe Yellen is eligible, and that's a good thing. Always adding another good quarterback to your room, Alan, is very important. And you got to think, if this guy's, willing to transfer here, the coaches obviously think pretty high of him, and they must think that he's at least going to, give Nick Patty and Davis Bevel a run for their money for being the top backup this year, and maybe even the starter next year.
Yeah, that's got to be, I'd say, one of the more intriguing quarterback rooms we've had around here in a long time, because we've seen, two of the guys really shine. And Patty, I mean, stepping in against UCF a little bit and showing some flashes. And, of course, we have Kenny. And then you have big-time recruits, big-time transfer in there. That's rare for Pitt Panther football, I think, all at once. 4 guys, Vince.
Well, yeah, and you think about it. I mean, there were some years under Wanstead and Graham and Christ where they were struggling, just to get 2, quality scholarship quarterbacks, and now we got 4.
Yeah, because God forbid you got an injury now. I am genuinely excited to see all these next men up. With the quarterback position, I would be like, oh God, who knows what Davis Bevel could do? What about Yellen? I don't know, but I want to see them play. I mean, I think there is, at least going by how these guys were recruited, where they're coming from, that's not a loaded quarterback room compared to other college football programs. But for Pitt, this is more than we're used to, at least in the recent past.
Oh yeah, and we'll think about comparing this quarterback room to, everybody else in the country. And, Kenny Pickett, say what you want about him, but if you look at the room as a whole, they have 3 quarterbacks in this room who have started games at the Division I level. There's probably not too many quarterback rooms across the country that could say that.
Very few. Very, very few. So that's some exciting news to come out of camp this week. Paired, of course, with the scary news about a canceled practice, but we forge on, and we've got defensive linemen trying to step up right now, Vince. All these D linemen have opportunity.
Exactly. And, we talked about Jalen Twyman a whole lot last week, and, Coach kind of addressed it this week. He's really only speaking to the media, once a week for the most part. So this was a really first time talking about, Twyman not being there. And who's really going to be taking his spot. And he mentioned 2 guys, Tyler Bentley. He said he stepped up, and Kalijah Cansey. He's called him electric, Alan, and he called him that not just once in his media scrum. He called him that twice, and that's pretty high praise for just a redshirt freshman. Do you think that he's there's justification for really being that excited about it? And what do you think a coach, being that open about somebody that's really opened his eyes like this?
Well, I'm always reserving my excitement, especially during this portion of the year in training camp, because a lot of hyperbole and a lot of different vocabulary is used. But if you look at the vocabulary of Pat Narduzzi, we're going to be able to, now that we've got all this data with training camps under Pat Narduzzi's belt, Vince, we're going to have data on the vocabulary he's used in training camp periods to describe players, and using the word electric to some other words he's used in the past. That seems to me like it's higher up on the chart where you should be legitimately excited. He uses words like bulldozer and uses other coaching vernacular, and they kind of just get brushed aside or looked too much into. But bringing up this praise is also meant, I think, as a motivational tactic, because giving a player confidence, especially when you need someone to step up at a certain position on the field, very, very important. So I'm glad that coach is seeing good in his defensive lineman after losing Jalen Twyman for sure. And let's see if he makes it onto the field. I think there are guys he's got to beat out, because there are guys ahead of these two.
Well, that's interesting. We talked about it last week. Who's going to be, the guy to step up there. We know Kayshawn Camp is going to be probably the top, interior lineman, and then we listed several others that are going to, and we said they're probably going to need at least two guys to really get up there in that rotation, and based on seniority and playing time, Cansey, he was at the bottom of the list. He redshirted last year. And Bentley, yes, he did play, but not a ton. And now he's already talking about these two guys as maybe, the top guys to step up. So I'm very intrigued by this. And with the way coach is talking about him, this Cansey, he's probably the guy I'm most looking forward to right now this season, because, we know how good this defensive line can be. And if this guy's a big part of it, that means huge things for Pitt.
I mean, I'm excited for the new faces, but I mean, there's no way I'm more excited to see any player on the whole team than Abanaconda. And then defensively, I can't wait. I just can't wait to see my fellow theater lover, Kayshawn Camp, on the field again. I'm excited for that. But yes, of course, every season you're excited for the fresh faces. We've got fresh faces at wide receiver too.
Yep. Freshman Jordan Addison, true freshman wide receiver. Coach has been talking about this guy as just a smooth playmaker, and somebody who is already seems to be in the mix with the top group of guys. We got Taysier Mack, we got Shockey Jock Louis, Jared Wayne, Trey Tipton if he could come back healthy. Those are some of your top guys. But if this Addison, to me, they desperately need somebody, that could come in with some tremendous explosiveness like Shockey has. And this is somebody who could take the top off of defense. And if they could add another guy like that, I think that's absolutely huge.
Yeah, I'm really hoping for a deep threat, anyone. And what we've seen from a lot of the wide receivers Pitt already has, they're few and far between. Shockey has the speed. Kenny overthrows a lot of guys. I'm really hoping Trey Tipton's back. How bad was his injury? What's that he's fighting back for this as a redshirt senior?
Yeah, he's had a lot of injuries, and hopefully he could come back healthy and play for this ball club. Certainly not a burner, but an inside slot guy. But you also look at guys like Taysier Mack and Jared Wayne. Those are some nice big body guys.
They're hands guys over the middle. I want to go down the field.
I don't know if I would call Taysier Mack a hands guy. He can make some spectacular catches every now and then, but if you just lightly toss it to him,
yes,
he struggles sometimes. Unfortunately,
that's true. So Addison, the one where you're getting excited about, what size, what kind of player at that position are we looking at then? Do you think he's a down the field threat if he steps up? Is that what they're pushing him to be?
Well, it sounds like he's somebody that could maybe, might be able to do it all. I would say an inside or outside guy. I'm not quite sure, about 5'11", 6 foot, certainly not a filled out body by any stretch of the imagination. He's certainly going to need to gain some weight, but if he's as smooth of a route runner, then maybe not necessarily a burner, but with a smooth route runner, that he can get himself open and not necessarily have to rely on blazing speed. If he could get that separation, that's huge because Kenny Pickett, he can hit guys. We've seen that. If you could get open, I think Kenny could get you the ball, and more guys that could do that specifically down the field, because we know this team needs, some chunk yardage at times. I think that's great.
And you know what? If they don't step up, it doesn't matter because Pitt runs the ball so well and better than anyone in the ACC anyway, Vince, which takes us out of our discussion of training camp as it goes on. We will, of course, update a little bit of it next week, where Vince and Pam will both be off, taking a much-needed vacation, a mini vacation. I will be holding court next week, Vince. I'll have my training camp notes, but I've got something special planned for next week.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear that.
When I'm holding court. But so let's take it, though, to the next portion of the show here, coming out of training camp, talking about the great Pitt running game and what they're saying on the Pitternet this week, which isn't what you're saying, gentle Pitt fan listener, or we're saying. This is ACC coaches are anonymously talking on the Pitternet, and we got to get all up in it here with some online chatter.
Can you explain what internet is?
I hear there's rumors on the internets and to all those faceless keyboard warriors on Twitter.
But we're a good darn football team. I'm proud of these guys.
Okay, so Athlon Sports, Vince, you sent me this article. There are coaches in the ACC anonymously talking about each other.
Yeah.
And we've got all of you isolated all of the words spoken about one Pat Narduzzi, head football coach of the Pitt Panthers.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see what some of these coaches are saying about Pitt. Some good, some bad. I guess we're going to run down each of these here. I'll start with the first one. It said, what you're getting here. This is a team that looks basic on film, and then you get into a fight before the game, a fight during the game, and they're trying to fight you after. That's all Pat. He is that team.
So that's praise, saying a coach has really stamped his identity on a team. That's a nice thing to say about a coach, I think. What about this one? Let's see how this one goes. Well, first off, who do you think said that one?
When they said this is the team that looks basic on film, this is probably like Coach Cutcliffe at Duke.
Yeah,
just
I'm going to say, yeah. If anyone say anything nice about someone, it's definitely Cutcliffe. I don't think he'd say a bad word about anybody. He seems like a really swell guy. Let's read this next one here. That personality is how they carry themselves. They're going to hold you, press man coverage, get personal fouls, goad you into it, all of it. Pat has a great defensive mind, but he needs to learn that the team reflects the head coach. They ride too hot and cold. They swing too much because that's how he's acting on the sideline. Damn it, I hate that that's so accurate.
Yeah, well, that first part that they're going to hold you and get personal foul, that seems like Mac Brown at North Carolina, because that's what they do to us, and he's just trying to turn it around on us.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it sounds like a coach for sure that we see a lot. It has to be so maybe UNC could be maybe, I don't know. Would Broncos say something like that?
I don't know.
But that's a good one. That's a little bit of sting right there. What about the next one?
Yeah, there's a lot here. They're not as good as running the ball as they think they are. They're going to have to get better and more creative there, even in the new offense. It has to work when they hit you with that changeup after the passes.
Dino Babers, for sure.
You think?
Oh, yeah. I think
yeah, I could see. I guess so.
This just seems like a guy who has just an opinion, and he sticks to it. He probably has said that to a million people. But at the same time, did he not watch Pitt last year? Did he not watch? They think they're good at running the ball. They could score 63 on us every year, but whatever. They're not great at running the ball.
They think they're good at running the ball. That's why they only ran it 10 times a game.
They think they're good at running the ball, but that's why they got Mark Whipple to be their offensive coordinator, so they could stop being so good at running the ball. Let's keep it going with the next one. Speaking of Mark Whipple, offensive coordinator Mark Whipple is a really good schematics guy. They just didn't have what they needed last season schematically. They give you problems no one else in this conference does. Oh, that's praise for Whipple right there. I don't know who said that one.
It could have been Coach Cutcliffe, actually. That seems like something he'd say.
Yeah, that's or what's the Wake? Who's the Wake? Clausen at Wake Forest, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe it was him.
Well, the more I think about it, that previous one about running, that was definitely Justin Fuente. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, they think just because 2 years ago they ran up all their 75-yarders on us every time, they're not that good. What about our next one? We got a few left.
Their upside is that front seven. They're going to disrupt you. They can get after it. They can confuse your protectors, and they can fight through it. Fight through you.
That's from an ACC coach?
Yeah. I could see that being Dino Babers because they got sacked at Syracuse a whole hell of a lot last year. And maybe that was him.
That could be true. Was that last year, the Syracuse game where they had their ninth string quarterback in? Well, how's this not Josh Heupel talking about how we got after all of his UCF quarterbacks, but he's not. These are only ACC coaches. That's why I asked that. All right, here's one. We got two left. They really could be a 9 or 10 win team this season if the offensive line gets better and they fix the scoring problems. The pieces are there. Ooh, that's a dig at that Penn State game right stings, that one. Ouch. Really calling out Gabe Hoy there too.
Yeah, this is probably Dabo Sweeney, I think, because I think he knows how good this team could be if they could just fix a couple things.
Last one.
Pickett is a solid game manager, but could maybe develop into something more.
Ooh, look at that. That's sleeping giant right there at quarterback for the Pitt Panthers. The other coaches recognize that. I'm going to go ahead and say that was we've attributed it to every coach so far. Let's go to Doran? Dave Doran maybe at NC State?
Could be. Maybe Scott Satterfield.
Or Manny Diaz? He knows what Kenny Pickett could do.
He does. Maybe he said that.
I don't know. Let us know who you think said all these anonymous quotes about the Pitt football team and Pat Narduzzi and Mark Whipple at H2P Show on Twitter. And we'll discuss what you thought, who you attributed to on the next show. These are fun. These come out every year on Athlon. I feel like I've done this bit on sports talk radio in Louisiana.
Yeah, I feel like you did. These do come out every year. I'm pretty sure
they're fun. I love them. I wish the NFL would do it.
Maybe we'll have to read. Maybe we'll do an analysis of these, and we'll try to figure out which ones Pat Narduzzi said.
Yeah, definitely. Save that link, Vince, for sure. All right, we're winding down here, and we have not a whole lot of news left except for what they're talking about around town, and they're socially distanced out here. But I was on a stroll through Greenfield last week, Vince, earlier in this week, excuse me, and we were just walking down the street and saw, you see a lot of elderly Pittsburghers standing out on each other's lawns, socially distanced, talking loud at each other about current events since they can't have dinner. And it's real nice to see. It's friendly neighborhood, at least where I'm at. And I overheard some people talking about the news about Joey Yellen. So why don't we go ahead and we'll give everybody a glimpse of what was being said about that big news here.
Another Saturday coming, and the Panthers are playing. Trying to find out what the Yinzers are saying.
You hear about Yellen playing at Pitt next year?
Yeah, I'm yelling from home. There ain't going to be no fans down there, though.
Yeah, the quarterback, you jagoff.
Oh, I know who the quarterback is. It's that Kenny Pickett playing quarterback again. You know, he's been there like 7 years. He's going to win the Heisman Trophy like that sleeping giant.
Hail to Pitt.
Hail to Pitt.
What the Yinzers are saying.
So that's what the Yinzers are saying. Very, very excited to see Joey Yellen. I think some of Pittsburgh, I think, is very excited to see what this kid could do. Because if things go south, he's going to be the most popular guy around town.
Oh, for sure. And then the good thing is, like we said, Pitt has a few popular guys waiting in the wings. A different era for Pitt football, but we must now scoot. And next week, you and Pam get the boot, Vince. I'm in charge. Holding court. It's going to be a lot of fun. I hope everybody tunes in, Vince, especially you two.
Oh, I'm definitely going to be tuning in, Alan. I'm very excited to hear what you have in store next week. I'm excited to hear what's going on in practice, despite the very little information that we're getting, and just continue to monitor the status of the season.
We will have a vocabulary breakdown if there's any training camp news from Pat Narduzzi. See what adjectives he uses for players and a whole lot more. We're back for now. Thanks for subscribing on iTunes and Spotify and all your favorite podcast platforms. Tell your friends, your Pitt friends, and family about the Hail to Pitt podcast. Talking Pitt every week with you right here. Thanks for listening, everybody. Follow us at H2P Show, and I will be back next week holding court. Until then, Vince, tell him.
Hail to Pitt.
Hail to Pitt!
I will preach on.